It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son. Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh
my. Welcome to the Hitting Zone podcast, where we take the tough subjects and we crush those. And if you'd like, you can follow me on THZ_. The Hitting Zone STL. I have to look at notes. I got notes in front of me, notes right here. But more importantly, I want you to follow me too on my personal performance page, which is _MTS Performance on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on TikTok, but that's the Hitting Zone. So you can head over there because I'm getting a lot of play on TikTok. So TikTok has been good for me. But shout out to Game 7. We want to thank them for the support on YBM and the Hitting Zone podcast. Make sure you check out the schedule. That 2026 season has been released, so make sure you go take advantage of some of those discounts. Prime Sports Midwest, 3 locations, Fenton, Chesterfield, and St. Peter's. Make sure you order your gear online. Is that who you go through?
Absolutely.
For your stuff? I've done my stuff through there, team sports, team gear. And then, of course, baseball bats, right? I think the new stuff's coming out pretty soon.
Give them those new bats for 2026.
Yeah, I think they've dropped or they're coming out pretty soon because it's right before the holidays. Real important, though, I want to talk about the YBM Club coming to 2026. We have member perks with exclusive content. We have all those details coming up pretty soon. And the early member sign-up is November 1st, just a few days away this Saturday. So make sure that you are following Youth Baseball Midwest so that you get this information here coming up. Special guest today, Shane Eames. I don't know if you're a special guest anymore. You've been on with me several times. So are you a special guest?
I doubt that now.
Contributor. That's what we're going to call him. He is special, but
very special.
If you're not following, you should follow Shane. And what are your socials, sir?
Basically, it's Premier Hitting Development on X and Facebook. I dabble in TikTok, not much into that, but I'm old school, and I try to stay in my lane of trying to control at least 2 pages at this point.
I've learned that you can control almost all the pages with one post, and like Meta allows you to go here and there. So
I'm not good enough for that.
Well, you don't have enough time, sir.
I do not have enough time.
You are a busy man.
That I am.
Southeast Missouri. You're up in my neck of the woods, down
all
south.
All over the place.
But today, I wanted to bring up a conversation that I think it's dear to you and dear to me. I'm one of these guys. I've been one of these guys before. But I want to talk about just kind of the nature of where baseball's at. And I want to talk about paid coaches.
Yes.
Specifically the paid coach. You and I are going to do a 3-part series. We're going to do paid coaches, the volunteer coach, and the dad coach.
Oh, boy.
You've been a dad.
Yep.
You've been a volunteer. I'm sure you've been a paid coach. So I think this is going to be fantastic because I've been all 3 as well. I got my opinions right now on where we're at with baseball, and we're just going to kind of lead into some things, and we're going to air it out. And I'm excited about this one.
Absolutely.
And if you get your feelings hurt, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Feel free to comment whatever you want. If you're a coach of or a director of an organization or a team, and you got something to say, please say it. Open dialogue is good. I want to know where you're coming from if you don't like what we say, and if you have your opinion, great. Let's talk about it so that we can bring up more topics for future episodes, but you're going to have to do that by hitting the notifications and making sure you subscribe to Youth Baseball Midwest on YouTube. My first question for you.
Yes, sir.
I got a list of questions, so I'm going to look at my phone. So I don't have a cool tablet in front of me, so I got to squint a little bit. I didn't bring my glasses, but growing up, I'm 45 years old. I know you're a little older than me. We had a lot of volunteer coaches and a lot of dad coaches, and when has the shift of baseball kind of went from the volunteer dad role to more of a business setting and having significant paid coaches? When do you think that has started? And part two to that, is that good for baseball?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it can be good for baseball if you've got paid coaches that have a track record of development. But in my opinion, that's the market that we're in right now is so saturated. It's hard to find quality paid coaches. I just don't think there's enough quality paid coaches at this point to transcend the game and to grow the game the way it needs to be. And I think the landscape of club baseball, not only in the St. Louis area, but throughout the country, it's massive. It's a big business. It's a huge industry. There's millions of dollars being made. And I just don't think there's enough quality to go around with the quantity. And I think that's where we're missing the boat. I mean, I started out as a volunteer. I had to cut my teeth. I learned from a lot of good men, from a volunteer. Then I became, okay, now you're going to take your own team. I took my own team for a number of years. I've had prospect teams. I've had a lot of good teams in there. And then, you get paid to coach at an organization, in which I've been able to do that. But, it's built over a number of years to build up that aspect of, people have got to understand that there is merit based on this stuff. And, when you're hiring young coaches, I know that's a necessary evil at this point, but what are they really able to give you besides just rolling out a bucket, a fungo, and a lineup card?
Can they do that?
They have to do that.
Can they do that? It's not a matter of have to. I have watched coaches throw infield because they cannot hit a fungo.
That's embarrassing.
But you're a paid coach.
Right.
So is it good for baseball?
I don't think it's good for baseball if you can't hit a fungo or throw BP. That's just my personal opinion. So,
all right. Okay. I got this one. I have had for the last 2, maybe 3 years, a case of the yips in throwing BP. I can throw to a lefty all day long, pump strikes, and just, little chuck and duck stuff. I can sit on a bucket and do it. I have had the hardest time throwing to righties without velocity. I cannot just flip a baseball in there. I have no idea what I did, and now I can't get it out of my mind. So I will sit on a bucket, and I'll just chuck and duck. I'll just sit behind the L screen. I can flip all day.
Right.
But if I get into like a 40-foot range, man, I am Chuck Knobloch all over again.
Oh,
and when someone's like, hey, coach, you throw us BP? I'm like, yep, let's go to the machine. At least velo stuff, I am okay.
Okay, I'll take away part of that equation. If you can't hit a fungo, then
no, you can say BP, because I will tell you, it bothers me because that's my job, right?
Sure.
Like it is literally my
pride
job
in that.
To throw BP, and I can flip all day, nice easy touch to it. But if I'm at 45 feet, man, it's bad.
Right.
And if I have nobody there, I'm gold. I don't know where that came from. I think I maybe hit a kid or something and it just stuck. I'm also not as mobile as before.
Sure.
And so I just don't finish the pitch. I let arm side and run go, dude. I'm like, let's get on those hands and bust your knuckles, boy.
Exactly.
You have to learn how to get out of the way. We're practicing hit by pitches today. No, but I do agree that if you cannot throw fungos or hit fungos and throw BP, you probably shouldn't be a hitting coach. That's probably why I went to the pitching side.
There you go.
I went to the fitness side. I want to teach people how to be mobile so I get myself mobile. I will tell you I am doing better, though. I'm just super inconsistent. And I dislike that because of the fact that what's my job is to be consistent so we can work on the consistency of getting the kids the reps that they need. That's my job to do. Now, I play that very differently. And if my kids are watching and they understand this now, I'll be like, well, you don't get the perfect pitch in a game.
Right.
That's how I play that.
There you go.
I think I do a good job.
But there's consistency. And I'm going to tell you what, right now, hands down, I can have many people attest that I probably throw the best BP in the area. I would rival that against anybody.
Man, I got a chance to hit off of some guys that, through BP for the Cardinals. I might have to come in and take BP session off you just for fun.
Absolutely.
Is there something?
Braxton Martinez, you're out there. He'll attest to that. There's many other guys that will attest to that.
One of the best BPs I ever had from a teammate was a guy named Jay Davis. I don't know if you know the name or not.
No.
His son played at DeSmet. Jay is no longer with us, but he coached the St. Louis Spikes men's baseball.
Okay.
And we would go hit in Westport over at Balls and Strikes Westport when Rob Morris and Scott Cooper had owned that spot over there or was running the spot. We would be at 30 feet. I mean, probably 45 to 50 miles an hour, just pumping gas. And he's like, we're swinging wood next tournament or whatever we were doing. I'm like, I'm not hitting off of you with wood bats. Are you that guy that just like pumps heaters and just like at 20, 35 feet that's just pumping cheddar? Is that you, or do you get more of a little air underneath?
No, I throw firm BP, but it really just all depends on the age group that I'm throwing with.
Fair.
You know, high school, college guys, I'm throwing extremely firm BP, but I'm also mixing in 12 to 6 breaking balls. I'm mixing in changeups. You know, I'm going to give you the variety that you're going to see in the game. I don't make my BP sessions comfortable. I don't throw the ball in the middle of the plate. That's where I pride myself is I hit spots. I rarely miss. And that's one thing that I can say that I do a really good job of is I throw really good BP. But I don't throw easy BP. I don't throw comfortable BP because you're not going to be comfortable in a game.
No, you're right.
I'm not trying to make you a better cage hitter and pump your ego. I'm trying to make you a better game hitter. So that, you know, with everything that we do in our sessions, the tee work is uncomfortable. Flips are uncomfortable. BP is uncomfortable. Machine work's uncomfortable too because I don't set up machines in the middle of the plate. I work from different angles. I work with different types of spins. There's nothing easy that we do. So you are prepared when you step in the box, and it does get a little bit difficult. You're way more comfortable to perform when the lights are on.
Like they were last night between the Blue Jays and Dodgers.
Wow.
Holy smokes, what a game. When I go in there and hit off you, can you make me feel better about myself? So I don't have any
For the
games
first
to play?
2 or 3, I will. And
Okay, then
it's
I'm
going
gonna
to
be done after that.
competitive mode.
I'll be
And
done
after
after that.
we're competing.
I'm going to be done after the first 3 then because I don't want to compete.
It's all about quality it's all about quality.
Be my babysitter, would you? So let's bring that up. I know that we got a little bit off topic here, but going back to kind of the paid coaching side is obviously, we talk about development. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Right.
Are we, just because you're a paid coach, are we really actually paying for better coaching because you're a paid coach? Or what do you think parents are actually paying for in some of these organizations with some of these coaches who might be 19 to 22 years old, who barely have an experience?
Most of them are that young, and it's just a necessary evil because when parents are paying the amount of money that they're paying now and writing a check, they want to have that justification that there's nobody in the dugout that is going to eliminate their kids from, being able to get on the field and perform. They want to make it to a point where somebody else is going to make that decision, not a dad, not a club director. It's a very slippery slope in this day and age that we have to rely on a lot of young coaches that are extremely green. And, I don't know how everything's being dictated, whether the club directors are saying this is the lineup you're going to use or they're doing it themselves. But I think a lot of the paid coaches now are just, out there to eliminate some of the drama that unfolds in these club situations.
How does that happen when you're 19 and 22 years old? I mean, you have parents that are going to be influential on you because you're not going to know how to handle a parent. You're not going to know how to handle a 16, 17-year-old kid that's a little ticked off at you or whatever the case may be. What happens if they cuss at you?
Right.
What is your culture in there? And when I hear that, what I feel like is really what these folks are hiring in these organizations that have 30 high school teams is they're pretty much hiring a babysitter.
Absolutely. Why do you think I got out of the club scene about 10 years ago? I wanted no part of it anymore. I didn't want to do that anymore. I was tired of the drama. We were a smaller base club that needed dads in the organization. We did have some paid coaches. We had volunteer coaches. That's the backbone of our game has been those types of guys to stabilize things. And people they want to just label everything now as daddy ball. And, I know we're going to get into that, but I was a dad, I was a coach. But people love to play for me because I did not take any favorites in. You got what you earned. even to a point where, it had to come to the conclusion that, my son was either going to be a PO or he wasn't going to play anymore because he didn't want to put the time and effort into swinging the bat on a consistent basis. He didn't like it as much. So I made my own son a PO. Okay, if that is not, non-daddy ball, and he didn't hit third in the lineup when he was younger, he got what he earned. And when he was putting together quality at bats and doing well, he was up in the lineup. When he wasn't, he's down to the bottom of the lineup, moving runners over, bunting, and it just got to a point where, he just wanted to pitch. So just be a pitcher then. We're done.
You know what? The thing that bothers me about the daddy ball stuff is that we have too many teams. This is probably why you have the issues you have.
Absolutely. It's oversaturated.
Ball anyway.
It's oversaturated.
But you just talked about this with paid coaches. There can be influences on paid coaches that play certain kids because mom and dad are chirping in the kid's ear, texting the director, like, why isn't my kid doing this? Next thing you know it, they're on the field. I will tell you that, and I don't think this is a bad thing for me. I will always, I just like anybody else, teacher's pet, coach's pet, whatever the heck you want to call it. I have players like that. Those are players that are going to work hard for me. They may not be the most skilled, but they're going to get the most leeway because they're out there working their tails off. Everybody has those kids on the team. And if your kid's not getting the time, then you need to start questioning whether or not why that is. And so instead of coming to me complaining about your kids not playing, why don't you find out the why that they're not playing? And it could be because of the way that his maturity or lack of at practice is, his lack of effort at practice. I mean, my job is to gauge. You talk about making your son a PO. I was a freshman coach at Timberland. I cut my own son.
Right.
I had to have that conversation with my son, with the head coach of Timberland, and he just wasn't good enough. And so be it. Like, I coached him at Little League and stuff like that. I wanted to do my best to not, but as I got into the tribe program, I did have him on my team. He wouldn't have made the team if he wasn't my son, but he wanted to play, and he was willing to sit and do everything I asked him to do. So if I needed to warm up the pitcher, I needed to warm, in between innings or whatever, he was a guy in the dugout that could help and did not impact the dugout in a negative way. Right. He just wanted to hang out. So that was what we had discussed. The team was all right with it. They loved him having him in the dugout. He was a team guy.
And you got to spend quality time with your son, and that's the most important thing.
I wouldn't have if he didn't, because he wouldn't have played. And
that's why I started coaching my son again. I wanted to have that time with him because I know, that time is going to run out, and it's going to run out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, enjoy every moment, folks, that you have to watch your son or daughter play, because eventually it goes bye-bye, and then you're just stuck with memories. But I wanted my memories to be really fun. I wanted them to be great. But at the end of the day, my son is going to be a productive father, husband. He's a great person. He's educated. He's a hardworking kid. He's very talented musically. And that's the game of baseball taught him those principles. And being in there, the accountability factor was there for him based on what we taught in the game.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to build here, guys. I mean, we know that there's limited amounts of kids that are ever going to see a big stage and play under the lights that we watched last night. But what can we do to help these kids be better people? Exactly.
I think that's what baseball is for. And that's why, I look at things like paid coaches. They don't get those relationships, I don't think. I think as you get older, like when you're our age, like you've built those because you've been in the game for
absolutely
a long time. But how long are you actually really wanting to be a paid coach? You're only doing it because you are getting paid. And are you going to continue to coach 20 years down the road? And when you have your kids and things like that, are you still going to be invested in?
Most won't do that. Some will. I tell you what, I think there's a handful of younger guys that are coaching in clubs that I think have a very bright future in the game as coaches, as mentors. And I'm not trying to, degrade anybody that's doing what they're doing right now. But most kids that are coaching in the summer are supplementing income. So, they're getting paid a couple grand and getting some gas money and hotel rooms, and they're going out and doing the job, and that's it.
I've had a hard time going through this process the last few years and watching, 20-year-old kids show up to the game about 5 minutes prior with a monster in their in their hands, and they're looking like they just woke up and after a night out on the town, and I'm like, man, I understand
not a good
having
look.
fun, doing your things, but there's literally kids there wondering where they're at, and then here they are like parents. I'm like, you
not
are
a good
paying a lot of money.
Right.
Why are you not demanding better?
Right.
It's not, the better needs to be the organization leading that young man into the right
Absolutely.
path. You know what I mean? And so do you think that having paid coaches has kind of gone more towards the business side versus the development?
I 100% believe it's going more towards the business side. And like I said, I'm not here to, badmouth any club for wanting to make money. More power to them, but it's just so saturated that, it's becoming the model. And I just really think they're out there to write up a lineup, maybe hit a couple fungos, maybe throw a little BP, have some fun with the kids, and then go home and do their thing, come back the next day and do it all over. I just don't think they're getting a lot of development with some of these younger coaches. And it's like I said, you have to start somewhere. But starting on that type of level, on that type of stage, I just think it's not a good scenario. They need to start at lower levels and work their way up. You have to build merit, but you also have to build a resume that people are going to respect you for. And I think that's where there's a lot of, divide that's happening right now, because these guys are just being thrown into the fire. And, and that's it.
Here's your 3K. Do whatever you need to do. Don't ruffle feathers.
Don't get in trouble in the hotel. And, we'll see you later.
Yeah. I just wonder why they can't go with a parent coach at 9U where there's a larger gap of ages, because when you have a 20-year-old kid coaching 17-year-old kids, there's still a lot in common. Right. These are kids that are in college. These are kids going to college. And so
I've got multiple students that have told me that they play Xbox Live with their head coaches right now.
So weird.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. It's
why are we playing video games live? Or like they'll go into the coach's room during a road trip and they have, these Xbox tournaments and stuff. I find that
weird.
It's extremely weird.
I don't.
We're not here to be these young men's best friends. We're here to be mentors. We're here to be teachers and developers. And you have to draw a line somewhere in the sand that says you've got to be on one side, the players have to be on the other, because then, at the same token that you want them to be your buddy, if there's a situation where you have to discipline them, it goes really bad really fast.
Does this happen on elite level teams? Do you see that kind of coach on an elite level high school team? Or
no.
Do you see, okay, so no. That's the other part to this, where when we talk about just the business and just the babysitters, this is where I start to get bothered, is because these kids are there literally half the time they don't even wear gear that matches the team. They literally are wearing whatever heck they want to wear from the college that they maybe play at or something of that nature.
I see numerous kids showing up in Hey Dudes to coach, and
they have one coach.
One.
They don't even have a first base coach.
That's what I'm saying. Coach. Then they've got a player in a batting helmet trying to coach first base.
Shouldn't these kids be going and playing other kinds of baseball and saving money, getting invested into me, the programming, versus trying to go play and call themselves a name?
Right.
Because to me, as a parent, there's no way that I would want to put my kid in a $4,000 program.
I wouldn't pay the money for that. No. If my kid was an elite level athlete, which my son was good, but he was not an elite level athlete, I wasn't doing that for my son to try to play at the Division I level. I was doing it for my son who wanted to play the game, who wanted to have fun, and he wanted to just every year was a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
That's the way we did it.
It's like the 80s.
It's a 1-year deal. Hey, we playing again next year? Yeah, Dad, I love it. I want to do it. Well, then we're going to be invested. You're going to get your work in. But it steadily, it started to divide a little bit. By the time he was a sophomore and a junior, he didn't want to do as much. Well, then you didn't get as much. So there goes the at-bats. There goes the time in the field. You still wanted to pitch. He still took his pitching lessons. He still did well on the mound. He was an all-conference pitcher a year. He did that. But if you're not going to spend the time and the effort, he was, very, very highly music oriented. So, drum major in band, very talented saxophonist, very talented vocalist, did everything, all state everything in music. that's what his passion was for.
All state.
Yes.
Isn't it cool though to hear like to go through that process and be like all state? So I did the same thing. I coached a young man that decided to quit playing baseball. Loves the game.
Right.
I mean, high IQ for the game. Loved talking the history of it, all that stuff with me, and I just loved having it. Now he's undersized and things happen. He just got back from some major competition at Timberland, and there he is on one of the bigger drums. He's about this tall. He's got a big drum.
bass. Yes,
I don't know what that thing is. It's
big. A big bass drum. Yes,
and he bangs the heck out of that thing. And baseball wasn't his route. It wasn't gonna be his route. And he's like, I'm gonna hang it up. I'm gonna focus on my drum skills. And now he's down doing something that baseball would never have taken him to. And I'm like, you know what? That's the kind of passion that I want everybody to have for something.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be a baseball player. You could be a football player. You could be a basketball player. You could be a drum major. You could be in arts. You can be in theater.
Right.
Like that stuff's got to be okay. You know, for me though, like going back to kind of the paid coaching side, you have 15 U teams or 16 U teams or 17 U teams. How in the world are you being developed? All you're getting is 12 weeks of somebody standing in there that gives a rat's behind about your athlete. There is no relationships, none of that. How are you okay as a parent to pay for that? I'm not trying to tell parents how to spend their money. They can spend the money however they want. They are not going to get your athlete to the next level because your athlete's not next level, period. Like I cannot tell this enough to families. Like, well, we're going here to play for so-and-so because they're going to get me a college scholarship. No, they're not.
Right.
They got all their best player college scholarships because they're good enough to play in college. Your son is good, but not that good. There's a reason why we have 44,000 seniors graduate high school, but only 14 play NCAA baseball.
Right.
That's a large gap.
A huge gap.
Where are you going to go?
Right.
You know, and so I think about the ROI that's invested. If you want to invest in your son, invest in you.
Right.
Invest in what I'm doing. Invest in what whoever's in your area that's giving you a program that is much longer than 12 weeks. Because in 12 weeks, I'm not getting much better. I am going to get better.
You're getting a lot of reps, but I mean,
we've already talked about that.
Exactly.
That's a babysitter's job.
Well, sure. I mean, I think the most benefit that you get in that type of setting is maybe the defensive reps, because you're not going to be outside in the dead of winter taking ground balls or fly balls or catching bullpens and stuff like that.
There's three spaces that have that size.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it.
That.
You know, I mean, it's from an offensive standpoint, if you've got deficiencies in your forward move or your bat path direction or, certain types of pitches that you need to hone in on or locations, you're not really getting that in that big of an environment when you've got 25 or 35 guys spread out in 4 cages. You're getting reps, and that's it. What type of development are you really getting other than just being active in that situation? So, it's a slippery slope, guys. I mean, it's just the way the scene is now. There's so many teams out there. It's just based on quantity now. I mean, the quality aspect of things are no longer here. There's just so many things to choose from now.
Stick to the old people. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Right.
Because the old guys like us, I'm not old, neither are you, but it just, the brand of baseball is so very different when you have guys that actually care and you could see the care for years. Right. Not just this flash in the pan kind of stuff. And you got all these new coaches coming in and they're here for 3 years and then they move. They don't really care. Find the guys who care about your development and invest. And that may be more expensive than what you're doing with your organization. But I can tell you there's going to be a heck of a lot more value that's coming out of there, because the conversations are so very different when you invest in these young people. And, it kind of leads me to really like, what are these expectations? What should parents expect out of paid coaches as a whole? Now, I know there's some very, very good ones, but I'm talking about the whole scope.
They're not a dime a dozen. What should the good paid coaches expect? Are very, very hard to come by. But I don't know. I mean, once again, it's very blurry. What are the expectations? The expectations are for you to help my son get better and give them a scholarship opportunity. But unless you're playing on an elite level travel team, you're not getting that.
Are paid coaches are paid coaches responsible for that, or is the organization responsible?
I think it really falls on the organization, and there's a lot of organizations that do a lot of legwork for that. And then there's some that I've heard, and like I said, I can't talk about every organization. I don't know the infrastructure. I don't know the behind the scenes. I see what they do on social media to help their athletes, and I think there's a lot of great clubs out here now that do a lot of things for their kids to help them. But at the end of the day, I don't think, a 19-year-old coach or a 20-year-old coach is going to help your son get to the next level. They're not going to network with college coaches. They don't have that type of Rolodex. I'm going to be old right now.
Yeah.
Or, contact list to call a head coach at a different, or a recruiting coordinator. Or, what are they going to have to say about their athletes? Do they even know their athletes other than this is the lineup I was told to write up. This is what my club director told me. This is my pitching rotation, because most of this stuff is already predetermined, not by the head coaches, but by the club directors. There's other people that are making this stuff out. Now you just go follow the blueprint, stay out of trouble, and if you need anything, you let us know.
That's an expensive babysitter.
It really is.
I'm going to keep calling them babysitters because I don't know anything else. I don't know what else to say. How is a 19-year-old kid who hasn't even experienced all of the weird stuff that happens in the game? I can bet you we can go out and give rule tests. They don't know the rules in the game. And
not at all.
I've seen where young coaches come out and argue, the hidden ball trick, the kid standing on the mound and the umpire calls it a balk, and then, the guy comes out yelling, whatever. I'm like, I sit and chuckle. I'm like, you need years to understand
absolutely
of going through things to learn, because I don't spend my time in the rule book.
Right.
I've been around enough baseball. I've watched enough of it on TV that I'm trying to learn. And if I see a one-off situation, I'm like, oh man, I got to write that down, because you just never know when you come across something like that. Because the game something's always happening. That's, you're like, well, I've never seen that. I've been coaching this for 50 years
right.
or been a part of the game for 50 years. I've never seen something like this, and how do you direct a 16-year-old kid who's struggling at the plate? When you're 19 and you struggled at the plate,
right?
What are you doing? You're going to you need age, you need guidance, and how does a 19-year-old kid give that guidance? And I struggle with that piece.
Sure.
And that's why I call these things babysitters.
Right.
I don't mean any disrespect for someone trying to learn.
But I think they need to start out at a certain level and work their way up. And I think this, it would help a lot of situations, but I just don't think there's enough time possible with the amount of teams that they have to allow that to happen. There's no more. It just won't. It's just the landscape of what is happening now is just, it's not good for the game.
So it's about getting invoices paid.
Most of it, yes.
I mean, there is no other explanation to have 100 15-year-old kids, or 16, 15, and 16, since that's how we classify most everything, is 15, 16, 17, 18. And you have this young person there. It's like, oh, I got all these extra kids that want to be at the tryouts. We're not going to make any cuts, so let's make sure we do this. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm part of this. I'm part of this whole thing. I am part of a club. I direct these things. These are the things that bother me within the scope, because I go out there and I'm seeing young people try to influence other young people that have no idea.
Right.
And yet it's just like, here you go. You have no direction, but here you go.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't.
Likewise.
Because the state of baseball, even as good as it is right now in our space, I still think we have very bad baseball IQ and levels of play at the high school level. And these kids are not helping them get over the hump from being a freshman, or C team, whatever they call them nowadays, JV squad, to then making the varsity level teams. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is just being a guy.
Right.
Okay, you didn't make your team. Well, guess what? We'll start a little bit sooner and we'll go play in this league. By the way, it's going to cost you an extra $1,000. You kidding me?
Right.
This just not my thing. And, again, comment all you want. I am not trying to be rude to anybody that has a different business model or a different mindset than I do. That's fine.
Sure.
I'm a part of it. I get it. I'm a paid coach. I did not do this. The first time at college, the first time in high school, I was a volunteer. Mm-hmm. Where you're supposed to get paid. I volunteered first before I ever became a paid coach. Likewise. It gave me so much different perspective on the game, and I had to earn the trust to get paid. So I had to develop my mind for the game on the coaching side. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So...
And you go through a lot of trial and error being a volunteer coach and a younger coach.
Oh, you get yelled at?
Absolutely. Well,
it's your fault for everything because you're the volunteer that suggested it.
So, but you have to have thick skin to get through that, and you have to understand that this is a process, and you have got to earn your stripes. There's no such thing as that anymore.
No,
you're just getting thrown in the fire, and I feel sorry for a lot of these kids because they are good kids.
Yeah, right.
They are showing up.
Right.
They are doing what they're asked to do. But then you get these, situations that I hear from kids a lot, in between games. You got parents that are having, big confrontations with their coaches, and now the club director's got to get involved. And I mean, it's a scary situation.
It is 100%.
But, I can see both sides. When you're paying the amount of money you're paying, and you've got a young kid out there, and he, all of a sudden things go wrong, or he makes a bad decision, or, he gets tossed out of a game, and all of a sudden I've seen instances where
Harris had to come out coach.
Exactly. I've seen a guy get ran. He gets tossed out of a game. There's more coaches in the dugout. They're supposed to have two, but one kid maybe a little sick that night. He's got a little bit of the flu. Well, we know what that flu is from.
Yeah, just like Jordan's.
Exactly. So, 2 a.m. flu. Wow.
Yeah.
How convenient. So he's not coming that day. So, the other guy's, basically upset because his partner's not there. So now they've got to find a solution to problems, and Katie bar the door. This is where you see a lot of the turnover rate too. But the turnover rate is not with the elite level, showcase teams. It's all the lower level teams, and it's just a dogfight for that.
They need to play baseball, right? So at the end of the day, like I don't want to take anything away from having an opportunity for these young people to play baseball. But that might be the group that needs the coaching the most.
Is the lower levels, yes, the younger levels
groups. And so when you think about what we're saying, do you think there should be a requirement to have a minimum time spent or things like certifications for these newer coaches coming out of college? Do you think that is a good requirement? And is it even feasible with how many high school teams that we even have out there?
I think it'd be a great requirement, but it's just not feasible. There's just too many teams and not enough people willing to take away their summer. A lot of these kids, I mean, it's their entire summer. Mm-hmm. They're coming home from college, and there's certain situations where some of these kids have to make money to live. They got to get back to school. They're on a bare bones budget, and they're going to grind it out. And once their 8 weeks is done, then they're going to go back to school.
They can make so much more money cutting grass.
Exactly. Way less drama.
And I'm not. That is not a dig at nobody. I'm just saying.
But, I mean, there are, and like I said, I do know some of these younger kids that I've been around that I think have a really, really bright future in doing it. But then there's some other guys that I look at, that I'm like, this is bad.
Yeah, and then those guys get lost, though. Those guys that haven't, and then all of a sudden that passion that they're trying to gain and their desires to learn, just like it was your desire, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we had to volunteer, you had to have desire to be there.
You had to put in sweat equity. Yeah, you had to be willing to do that.
And nowadays it's like, well, parents can just do whatever the heck they want to do. Right. And so if they can just say whatever to a 22-year-old kid, you're literally going to get that kid out of the game who really wants to be there.
Right.
That's where I think, you need to have a parent coach on that staff.
Agreed.
Somebody that has that direction, that is the person to go to have those kinds of conversations with. Sure, let the young person create the lineups. Let him go out,
be the face, but you need that presence in the dugout, that voice of reason in times of need that could really help the experience factor. Absolutely.
He's got to have way more, no matter how, like a 35-year-old person has way more experience than a 20-year-old. You know what I mean? So,
well, 35-year-old with a resume. I mean, most of the dad coaches that I'm associated with that I know of had a resume of playing, coaching. So it's not like you're just throwing some Joe Schmo out there who never played the game, never experienced anything. There's a lot of really good dad coaches out there that played at a very good level that are no longer coaching anymore because you've got a couple sets of parents that don't want them in the dugout.
Oh man, 40. You can go around some of the organizations here. There's 40 something 9U to 13U teams in several organizations here, and you don't want a parent coach because you're getting on the 10th 9U team, you're getting a parent coach that has no idea,
right,
and is just wearing a uniform. I know that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, that's a big conversation at the younger levels. Yes.
On that team though want a paid coach, and it's not any better. It is literally what you wanted as a parent. You want to wear the jersey. We're going to provide you that. Why would we not? If that's a livelihood of our business is the athlete, why wouldn't I take your athlete on? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so the parent is in control of this. It's just like our conversations about the Cardinals. We as fans, I guess, are in control of it. I'm starting to lean more towards how you guys feel versus trying to be so gung-ho against you guys. But I start to think about, well, why aren't they going to the games? Why aren't fans going to the games? Well, you're responsible for that. Hey, DeWitt, here you go. We're not coming, so do something about it. So you wake up people, right? So if you stop going and believing that you have to wear a name, maybe that changes the landscape of our sport. We have less coaches at the travel level, and we have better overall product. You have better overall development. You have better overall coaches. Why can't rec ball take the borderline AA kid and have fun?
Right.
Because that's what they need more than anything is the fun. And that's where I think the next level should be is, should we be spending more of our fees on development and programming versus tournaments and showcases? You know what I mean? And so do you think that that's part of this paid process, is that what if we spent more of that time developing for that coach too? Would that paid coach who is maybe in the cages more, developing the program from their experiences at college, would that be more beneficial than sending that paid coach to Arkansas for a showcase? For me, I don't know what that answer is, because I try to do all the above. I'm trying to literally do all of that. But what I'm seeing in growth and things like P3, our Premier Pitching and ACE and all these development programs, you're seeing a massive amounts of success from these athletes. You don't have players for 8 weeks and you shut it down. You have players for years. And they're making it to the next levels. And I'm thinking to myself, years, that's a process, right? What if that happened in the paid coaching side? What if they got paid through development and not through their coaching? And they maybe make a little bit more in their development because that's where, it offsets, however you want to look at it. I guess it's all the same. But wouldn't, like, if a coach cannot get growth out of a player, should that person even be in the program anymore? To me, I say no, because what's our goal?
Right.
But again, you're not talking about your elite level group, because your best coaches are coaching your elite level team.
Absolutely. And they're very good coaches.
For a reason.
Absolutely.
They should be on the other end, because the players that they're coaching, you don't need help. You flat out don't need that guy. What they want, and what their parents are seeking, is they want that guy because he has the connections because of his 20 years of coaching, right? I mean, that's how I look at it.
Sure.
I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I'm super transparent about what I do and what my goals have always been. My goal is to allow my 9U team to make, maybe if they have a middle school team that they do, that little middle school tournaments that they do, that they're high schools, I want all of them to make their team. And then when they get to high school, I want to make their high school team. I'm not talking about college. If I get a kid that truly wants to play college, I want to put him in the best situation that I can. That means if my team is an average team and he is above average, I need to put him on an above average team.
Absolutely.
He has got to get away from me.
He needs to be challenged more.
And that's fine. If the kid doesn't want to leave, that's up to the kid. If he believes in something different, I will do everything I can to get him to the next level. You don't even have to play for me. You can call me and I will try to find a coach for you, a spot for you. That's happening right now. I literally have a kid that plays in another organization that's not getting the help, and has literally said, what can I do here? Here's your plan. I didn't charge him. I didn't do anything. I spent a couple hours with him. He texts me at 9 o'clock in the morning. He'll text me at 10 o'clock at night. We will find a plan. I'm not reaching out to do that.
Right.
You have to come to me. Right. And so where does that come from? It comes from the experience I've had of getting kids recruited. A 19-year-old kid, like you said earlier, is not going to do that.
No. I mean, it falls on a lot of the aspect of the club directors and what they're willing to do to go out there. And I know there's many club directors that work extremely hard with getting the elite levels opportunities. The lower levels become a little bit harder to do that. But there are still club directors that I know that, you might not be a Division I talented guy, but you're still going to play at a level, and they're going to help you with that. But is it happening across all the club scene? I don't know. I don't think it does.
Yeah. Do you care enough to help the last guy on that list? I mean, even in single teams and, organizations that might have one or two at an age group, you still don't have every one of those guys wanting to go play college baseball, but they still want to play they still want to play baseball through the summer. And in some places they don't offer Legion or an alternative. So you still kind of have to go do this, right? Like you still have to be part of a club. There has to be a place for those guys still to play. That's where maybe if it's just a fun thing and they're playing a few tournaments, maybe that's where your guy gets his start, but he needs to still be with an adult. You
have to cut your teeth,
somehow, some way.
Absolutely. And I just don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Do you think, because you're a paid coach that you can coach?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, where's the merit? I mean, what is the background of coaching? You can play the game, but if you don't have any experience coaching the game yet, you're called a paid coach. I mean, where's the merit there? What have you earned other than, you might have been in the lineup, but it's a completely different dynamic as a player than it is a coach. There's communication barriers. There's a lot of things there that you really just don't know about until you can experience it for a certain number of years and work your way through a system.
Today, believe it or not, was the first time I got called an internet coach. And I have an ego, of course. And sometimes I'll get a little bit like, okay, let's chirp, have a little bit of fun. I said, you know what? I'm going to kill this guy with kindness. And I thought to myself, internet coach, I was like, man, thank you for recognizing I'm putting a lot of time in on the internet to try to get my word across to people and help people out. And it was over Carrick Johnson, or what is it? Yeah, it's Johnson.
Carrick Jackson.
Jackson. Sorry, thank you. Mizzou Baseball had posted his strike zone. I don't know if you saw that. I shared it on one of my stories. And he was at like 91% balls and strikes. And I thought, man, that's pretty dang good for a Division I baseball coach getting back there and actually being the umpire.
Right.
91% over whatever the number of pitches was. It doesn't matter. It was 90-something%. And some goon decided that he wanted to respond and tell me that I didn't know baseball because it should be over 95%. And I was like, that's a head coach of a baseball team. Like his job's not to be an umpire.
Correct.
So to be at 91%, I'm like, that's pretty darn good, buddy.
I think that's really good.
And I'm like, this is exactly what's wrong with baseball. Mm-hmm. And then he called me an internet coach. And I chuckled. I was like, he's got 25 years of experience. I'm like, I'm 45 years old. So do I.
Right.
I actually, when I worked for Balls and Strikes when I got out of high school, you know what I did? I made $8 an hour working their camps. That's where I started cutting my teeth. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm 45 years old, and I was like, I got the same 25 years this guy's. And I was like, I wonder if I should give him my accolades because he started giving me his. And I was like, you know what, buddy? Thanks for your 25 years of service. And all I did was piss him off. And so he just kept, and he's just still posting. I'm like, could you imagine if you were a youngster and you got that from somebody, and like, how could you approach that? Because I know younger me probably would have flipped out.
Oh yeah.
And I would have been all over this.
Good.
Yeah. Just like, good job, keyboard thug, like stuff like that. And I know I'm doing it now kind of, but hopefully he watches it since I'm this great internet coach. Or maybe I think he said I was a terrible internet coach. One of the two. But either way, thanks for recognizing.
Sure.
But I don't know how paid or unpaid, volunteer or I know how a dad would handle it. How would a young person, 19 years old, handle somebody like that? Because I know parents do this, right? I know adults are doing this. I know, how do you interact with an umpire? what words do you know what to say to an umpire that's not going to get you tossed, you
Right.
know, because you're not going to go up there and going 6-7, 6-7, and then everybody gets it. You know what I mean? You're going
Right.
to drop an F-bomb and you're going to get tossed and you're like, well,
Exactly.
I didn't really mean it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's funny because I think the game has kind of passed me by in the terms of, I don't know how to relate with the young people. I went back down to 9U so that I can build my culture, so that I can relate to young people again.
Right.
It's very hard for me to actually relate to a 15-year-old I've never worked with.
Sure.
Again, I've been coaching a long time. I can't imagine a 19-year-old other than being in the same kind of genre of stuff.
Right.
But then they're just friends.
Exactly.
I'm not your friend.
No.
I am not your friend. You're my buddy. If I see you on the field and I'm coaching against you, in that one moment, I'm going to come over, shake your hand. I'm going to be excited to talk to you. I want to beat you.
And everything's going good until there's a conflict that arises. And they have to be disciplined. And you've got a 19 or 20-year-old that is close with a 16 or 17-year-old, and they think they're buddies. And when you try to discipline that, it all goes south.
Well, what about the chirping in the game? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, what happens if
it's
the
ridiculous.
dugouts get at it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do you have a 16 or a 20-year-old person telling
The
his
thing
team
of it is,
not
they
to-
fuel the fire. They don't put out the fire.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, they're the ones leading the chirping. And I've heard it numerous times. And then the players feed off of that. Once again, it's a buddy-buddy system. And then things start to go south.
You're not going to want to chirp me.
No.
You know what I mean? You're just not going
Exactly.
to want to do that. I'll hit you with a baseball bat, but I'm too old. If any kids are watching this, don't do what I just said. I have an ego. I'm having fun. I don't even want to get involved in none of that stuff anymore. But, so we asked this question earlier, the development process of this, paid coach, organization, parent, athlete, who's actually responsible? We've picked on a lot of the paid coaching side, like on the development and things like that. Who is actually the most important person out of that whole entire thing for athletes' development? The paid coach, the organization, parent, athlete. Who is the stranglehold of development, in your opinion?
I think it's got to fall on a lot of the club directors to put people in place to give them that type of resource. Not only just resources for getting bigger, stronger, faster, but getting resources to hone your skills, to understand the game better, to be a student of the game, to understand that, how to set a standard. I mean, they're the culture developers. So I think a lot of the emphasis is on these club directors that, if you want to have a reputable program, it starts with you. And, it's a tough deal. It really is, because there's a lot of people that, don't see the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of these club directors do go through for their kids.
Oh man.
There's a lot of,
it.
Oh my goodness. And I still do it to this day, just as a hitting instructor. I'm on the phone constantly trying to help these guys, to get to the next level. So, and just helping them, just another contributor to that.
Yeah. People
Not to say that some of these clubs are not doing their job either, but it never hurts to have another voice or another opinion and stuff like that. There's plenty of quality people out there that lead these organizations that I have a lot of respect for. There's other people that I really don't know. I mean, I can't judge you, and I'm not going to do that. That happened when I was younger, and it's not a good scenario. I mean, you grow up and you learn that, listen, why are we all here? We're here for a common denominator. Some common denominators are different than others.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was not just about making a living, but it was making an impact on young players' lives. And when I have players come back that are now 40 years old and I'm working with their children, and they come back to say hi a lot or just talk to me on social media, that means all the world to me, because that meant that I had a great impact, not only as a coach and developer, but as a mentor, as a friend. And for them to call me back and ask for advice or want me to give hitting lessons to their children, now I've done something right. And that's the biggest reward that I get out of it.
The most amazing thing that I think that I saw a post, I don't know if you posted, maybe somebody did, was I hope that I'm that guy that in 15 years from now, you can text when you ever have a problem.
Absolutely.
Call. And it's such a great feeling to see a 30-year-old person, because my daughter's almost 30. So obviously I've got a chance to coach some kids that are having babies,
Sure.
married, stuff like that, divorces, things
Mm-hmm.
that they're going through. And I've a little bit of everything. We've had people go down the wrong road,
Right.
the right path, the righteous path, like all these different things. And folks can still call me. They still refer to me as coach, which
Right.
in a sense drives me bonkers because now we're on the same respect level because you're an adult, I'm an adult. Like, I want you to call me by my first name, but they still look at me as coach. I still do that to my coaches.
Absolutely, I do that.
So it's funny that I have that. I'm a kind of a hypocrite there when I say that, but there's no better feeling than one of my athletes going, Coach, we're having a baby. Coach, I'm getting married. Can you make it this day? Can you make it that day?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it had nothing to do with the sport. Yes, when we get there, we're going to talk about the sports. We're going to talk about the times that we had. We are not talking about wins and losses.
Right.
Very rarely do we ever talk about a wins and loss. And if it is, it's because of an experience. We played till 1:00 in the morning one time, and we had to play 5 games in one day. We talk about that all the time.
Right.
One, I don't think it should have ever happened.
Sure.
But we talk about it because of the experience of going through and the guts that it took to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then we drove home. This was on a Sunday. Not a single kid missed the next day of school. I am more proud that all of those kids in high school didn't have to. We
Right.
were juniors and seniors in high school. They didn't have to do this. They all went to school. Not a single kid missed on 2 hours of sleep.
Right.
That's way cooler than the
Absolutely.
trophy I got that I
Sure.
threw away maybe 3 months later.
Right. Dust
It took up
collectors.
space. It took up
Exactly.
space. It ain't. What do I need that for?
Right.
I asked anybody on the team that they want that, and they're like, Coach, we're good. I found some stuff from 16U that we won a tournament. And so I texted all the girls and I said, anybody want these little things? And they're like, Coach, toss it. We got baby pictures and stuff up now.
Right.
We remember what we did when we, were there and won that game and who got hurt and stuff like that, like things, but that is so much more important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you do that at 19 and 20 years old.
Tough.
How do you build that? And I know that there's somebody out there that's going through it. So you might be the one that's going to comment and say, I have great relationships. Perfect. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm not talking to you.
Right. No,
I'm talking to the guys that are just there to babysit and you know who
Right.
you are because you probably are not at some other levels.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You just probably graduated from the program and you were like, hey, I need a job.
Absolutely.
I got a spot, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably a whole nother, we could talk about that, I guess, for another show, but
Right.
we're going to talk some more. We got dad coaches and volunteer coaches. We're going to do this 12-2 and
Mm-hmm.
12-16. And I'm excited for this because it's going to be a 3-part
Right.
deal. But before we close, I have to ask this one more time. If paid coaches had to survive on their paychecks versus signups, I'm not sure I'm even asking this, Chris. How many paid coaches would survive if their paycheck depended on athletes' progress instead of signups?
Wouldn't survive.
That's how you ask the question. Not what was going through my mind.
Right.
Like I was trying not to stare at my phone and be such a rookie at this podcast thing, because that's what I feel like today is a little bit of a rookie. Great topic.
Yes.
Great topic. But I using notes,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that it kept us on track to talk about something I think that's important for our community and our parents. That's my goal out of this episode was let's just highlight paid coaches. What are you paying for?
Right.
What are your expectations on getting? And you need to comment what, as a parent, what are those things? And it helps us engage and then continue to build on these topics.
There needs to be more transparency with tough subjects like this. And there's not a lot of people that want to open up and be transparent that there is a problem in not just our area, in club sports everywhere.
Everywhere.
There's
all
just
clubs,
not
all sports.
100%. Yes. I mean, you see it happening in volleyball, basketball, hockey, stuff. There's just not enough quality to go with the amount of quantity. So at the end of the day, I mean, if the numbers were a little bit less, I think the product would be a lot greater. But then again, you can't pay for these massive facilities that everybody wants to build to be bigger, better, and look better on social media and give you more of a presence. And I think that's what it boils down to is these clubs have to make a certain amount of money to go. And, you have to make sacrifices. And I think we're sacrificing, quantity over quality. And it's not good.
That's why I'm getting out of team sports.
Right.
I still will coach my 9U team because I love this little group that I'm working with. By the way, I am volunteering. I'm not getting paid. I do not believe in charging a 9U team to
Correct.
get my experience. That's BS. If I want to make money off of them, I can sell lesson packages.
Sure.
I'm not doing that either. I'm helping my younger coaches develop their brand and increase their knowledge and helping people out. I think it's a perfect scenario for them to learn. Again, let's make sure that I'm clear. This is not a dig at anybody who's getting paid to coach. This is, are we doing the right things to help your athletes out in developing, getting better? Because that's ultimately what we're chasing. That's what we should be chasing. Not this participation stuff. You should have a desire to win. You should have a desire to compete. And it's not just about the right nows. It's not even about college or high school baseball. It's about the long-term impact that this sport has on your growth as, I think, a human.
Absolutely.
And just some of the experiences you have to deal with in life. Shane, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
12/2 will be the next time we'll have part 2 on. The reason for that is because for the next couple of weeks, we got some different guests. We're bringing Cody Massey back on. We're bringing Gonzo from Mac and Sights coming down. We got Brock Hurt from Lake of the Ozarks tuning in. And then we're on a break because we got Thanksgiving. So we'll tell everybody happy Thanksgiving a little early. Then we got a couple of shows.
Love it.
I actually got Jeffco coming on, Coach Bone.
Oh, fantastic.
I was going through our text for something, and I was like, wait a minute. He sent me some names. I was like, boom. I texted Coach Bone, and he's like, yeah, I'll jump on. He's like, I can't do tomorrow. I said, no, I got Shane tomorrow. I wouldn't do that to you. We'll bring him on.
Zach will do a great job.
12-9.
Zach played for me. Zach took lessons from me. I've known the Bone family. You don't get much better of a baseball family than the Bones. They're great people. They've been great mentors. In teaching the game the way it needs to be played, and it's been handed down from Zach's grandpa, Ron, to his dad, Pat. We coached together for many years, and to see Zach take it, Zach's brother Logan is still involved professionally in baseball as a coach. It's just it's a delight to see those guys continue to do what they do.
That's a paid coach for you right there.
Absolutely.
You guys, you give yourself a great day. It is always a pleasure to have this guy on. We talked some good stuff. We've been getting away from kind of what we're good at, which is teaching kids how to hit and doing some things one-on-one. But again, make sure that you subscribe so that you can get our show. You got to hit the dinger and the notifications that pop up. Comment all you want. It just don't cuss, right? Just comment whatever you think, and let's have some conversations. One thing I love about working with Youth Baseball Midwest is we're looking for solutions.
Absolutely.
We don't want to be part of the problem. You guys have yourself a great day. Make sure you get you some belief in you.
There you go.